Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making millions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/hidden. Protect yourself now at aura.com/hidden.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. I am Tricia Friedman. And if, like me, you are coming up to the new calendar year and you are thinking there's no better time than to focus on health, to think about daily habits, and maybe to think about ways to bring others along with you in your health journey, this episode is going to delight you. We have one of my favorite folks to go to for nutritional guidance and health guidance on the show. This is Dr. Michael Greger. Now, if you are at all interested in nutritional science, you may have already come across Dr. Michael Greger's work. He's everywhere. And he's here to talk about his revised and updated version of his bestseller, How Not to Die. This book is, again, brilliant for folks who are looking for evidence-backed ways to feel healthier. His guide has methods that are, again, just proven to keep disease away, to keep us healthier, and to think about the lifestyle changes we can make to live longer. Dr. Michael Greger is an author. He's been on multiple documentaries. He has his own podcast. And he also has a website and a nonprofit that you'll hear us talk about because he talks about how important it is that nonprofit is non-commercial. And again, why that kind of helps him keep doing the research that he needs to do and wants to do from an unbiased perspective. Please welcome to the show, the one and only, one of my favorite guests to chat with, Dr. Michael Greger. Dr. Greger, you are not just a medical genius, a man who is committed to research, but you're also this incredible communicator, whether it's documentaries that you're featured in, your own podcast, the many free videos that your site has up. You're constantly reminding us to pay attention to evidence-backed guidance. And your nonprofit, for anybody that visits, will notice one of your values is that you're non-commercial. I'm wondering if you can talk to us about why that is so important for somebody who is looking for guidance. They are trying to improve their diet. Why is someone like yourself who's saying, look, this website is non-commercial? Why does that matter in today's day and age?
Oh my God, more than ever before. For me, this all started with my grandmother. I was a kid when I was just a kid when my grandma was diagnosed with end-stage heart disease and basically sent home in a wheelchair to die. She had already had so many bypass surgeries and basically run out of plumbing at some point. Confined in a wheelchair, crushing chest pain, her life was over at age 65. But then she heard about this guy, Nathan Pritikin, one of our early lifestyle medicine pioneers. And what happened next is actually detailed in Pritikin's biography. They talk about Frances Greger, my grandmother. They wheeled her in and she walked out. Though she was given her medical death sentence at age 65, thanks to a healthy diet, was able to enjoy another 31 years on this planet until age 96 to continue to enjoy 6 grandkids, including me. So that's why I went into medicine. That's why I started nutritionfacts.org, why I wrote the book, How Not to Die, and why 100% of the proceeds I get from all my books are donated directly to charity. I just want to do for everyone's family what Pritikin did for my family.
That's beautiful. And I love that you continue to return and update the guidance that you give and really simplify it. You also have an app, this idea of the 12-day challenge. I love that you also have mugs with that. And, I love that as a person who needs to be reminded, maybe this is true of many humans. I need to be reminded again and again that making these daily decisions, it stacks up. It matters. And you do a really good job of just getting that message across in plain speak. And I wonder why that is so important to you in just like you're relentless in understanding people need to be reminded. Has that kind of come through in the work that you've done, or have other readers or have people conveyed to you, Dr. Greger, we can't hear this just once and change our daily routines. We need ongoing guidance.
Yeah, that's really why I continue to do what I do. In fact, just today with the new book launch, I've been doing a lot of interviews, and people call in and they call in for questions. But more often than not, it's not actually a question. It's someone saying, "Hey, I got your book 10 years ago. It changed my life. My Crohn's disease is gone," or whatever it is. And it's just this, they just want to get off their chest how much they appreciate what my work has done for them. And that's really what keeps me going. And look, it's your body, your choice, right? People want to smoke cigarettes or go bungee jumping or not wear their seatbelt, right? It's up to each of us to make our own decisions as to what to eat and how to live. But we should make these choices consciously, educating ourselves about the predictable consequences of our actions. And that's really what the books are really all about. It's your body, your choice, but it's just like, here's the information, pick and choose what feels right for you, and then go do it. And my work is done as long as people are fully informed. As long as you're fully informed, make any decision you want. But unfortunately, there's just these kind of perverse financial incentives in kind of the current society that are just not fully informing people about the options they have to help the health and well-being of themselves and their families.
Let's talk about how that plays out in the updated version of the book, because again, the first version came out 10 years ago. So you also dig into COVID, pandemics, what we need to understand, as well as the updated research on cannabis, because now, more so than a decade ago, is this just the messaging around cannabis, I think, to young people in particular. I think all the time about how I grew up when it wasn't everywhere. And now I feel like it's like there's a Starbucks effect almost. Can you drill in a little bit to why that was important for you to dig into in this updated version? And I know that many folks who guide young people and guide their parents and caregivers, that's going to be a topic that they know that they need to learn more about. There's been so much misinformation out there about it. What does your book do to, again, bring that clarity that we need?
Yeah, it's interesting. The misinformation is actually coming from both sides of the aisle, and that increasingly with almost any topic. And so I did a whole long series of videos on cannabis, I remember, and everybody was upset. Like on both sides, right? And I was like, okay, you've done it right when no one likes what you've done. And right, I think the pendulum has certainly swung to kind of paint cannabis as this kind of benign substance. But there are at least 33 different carcinogens in marijuana smoke, including polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, these combustion byproducts, which are blamed on the part of the link between cancer and grilled meat. And the levels found flowing through the bodies of those who smoke cannabis are similar to those you find in the bloodstream of cigarette smokers, which is actually surprising since most tobacco users typically inhaling much more smoke into their lungs over the course of a day than those who exclusively smoke cannabis. So on a puff-by-puff basis, is marijuana really that much worse? Yes. Compared to unfiltered cigarette smoke, more benzopyrene, more benzanthropine. These are these procarcinogens. Part of it may be because cannabis users inhale more deeply, hold the smoke in longer, and so can deposit about 4 times more tar in their lungs. And even bubbling smoke through water, like in a bong, does little to reduce the risk of tar buildup. And the tar in cannabis smoke is, at least in mice, causes the same amount of cancer as the tar in tobacco smoke. And marijuana users do have more cancer, more lung cancer, more oral cancer, more voice box cancer. But part of that has historically been because they also tend to smoke more tobacco. Marijuana users tend to smoke more tobacco. But same for like head and neck cancers. And so it's always been historically difficult to tease that out. But now we finally have evidence that there are indeed increased cancer risks for long-term heavy use. And that is defined differently than it is in kind of tobacco use versus marijuana use. We're not talking about casual marijuana use, but basically smoking like a joint a day for 10 years increases one's risk of lung cancer as much as 6 months of a pack a day smoker, which is quite a significant increase in cancer risk. It's not benign. Now, having said that, on the other side of the aisle, there are certain conditions. My next book is called How Not to Hurt, which is on lifestyle approaches to pain management. And there are certain pain conditions for which cannabis can be useful, but there's ways to get the kind of benefits of cannabis for analgesia, for pain relief, without these combustion smoke compounds by using various kinds of vaporizers and things. But it's not something it's something for which there are both pros and cons. And so again, it's all about educating yourself and not just sticking to your echo chamber of either advocacy or villainy, either side, but it's, okay, just what does the science say? And these interventional studies we now have on humans, it used to be so difficult to study. And so we had very limited data. We had all these rodent studies and but how do we really know if it translates? Okay, but now that there's been a loosening on research protocols, allowing us to actually study this stuff. Oh, okay, then there's benefits we didn't know existed. But there's harms that we didn't know existed either. And so it's something that we really have to be cognizant of.
Your relentless pursuit of keeping up with the research and what you just said about there's pros, there's cons, you've got to go into these questions with curiosity and not necessarily certainty. I wonder, we're in this almost like anti-science era. When you are updating your book, I fear sometimes that plays into the people that kind of think science is made up. Do you feel like you are not only trying to help people take better care of themselves, but also help society understand how science operates and that research continues? And as you said, different permissions will open up for different studies. Do you feel like both things are on your shoulders simultaneously?
Yeah, look, just because I'm laying out the best available balance of evidence doesn't mean it's particularly good evidence. It's the best we have so far. You have to eat something. So it's all right. We work with the best data we have, right? And I'm always sticking to the peer-reviewed medical literature, but we are seeing errors, fraud, falsification, fabrication, image manipulation, selective outcome reporting, publication bias, predatory publishing, goes on and on, ghostwriting by Big Pharma. And so, look, as bad as we are with this medical misinformation mess in the lay public, we're seeing that in the peer-reviewed literature now, particularly in the nutrition literature. There's so much money at stake that this was originally pioneered by the Tobacco Institute. They realized that how are we actually going to get policy changed? How are we actually going to muddy the waters? Let us pollute the scientific record to get people to question the reliability of the safety data about tobacco. And so we're seeing that very much in the nutrition literature now. But basically, it comes down to that Winston Churchill quote about democracy, right? Where the peer-reviewed medical literature is the worst form of evidence, except for all the others, right? It's the best we got. Yes, there are problems, and you need to go in there understanding the problems, understanding the conflicts of interest, where you can manipulate the study design to get some kind of predetermined outcome, which is good for your sponsors. And you may not recognize that if you're new to the literature, and you could have some internet influencer being like, look, here's a paper published. So you buy my crazy supplement, snake oil or whatever. And it's okay, let's look at that study. You need to know how to really understand it. And so that's, I think, one of the values that I'm able to bring is not just make things in simple language, translate the medical literature, but go through and make sure that they're representing the best available balance of evidence.
I wonder, with your guidance to, you're such an advocate for plant-based diet. Again, you're very clear in what you mean by that it's not potato chips 24/7. You've got great recipes. And the last time I spoke with you and I was reading your work, you introduced me to black cumin powder. I didn't realize the benefits. I didn't realize how easy this is to just add into my diet. And you got me really curious about it. And of course, I felt better. So I also wonder what guidance you would give to someone in terms of pay attention to your body. You also mentioned this idea of try to make sure that you are getting exercise. And there's a plain sense there. When I am getting regular exercise, I feel better mentally, physically, I sleep better. Do you have any other thoughts on, hey, maybe try this out and here's what to watch out for by paying attention to how you feel?
Yeah, no, I love that. In fact, I was just this morning working on the pain management book. I did a chapter on dyspepsia, which is kind of upset stomach, abdominal pain, some of which is caused by this bug that lives in our stomach lining called H. pylori. And so we typically use this kind of triple antibiotic cocktail, very effective at eliminating the bug. It works about 80% of the time, but just 2 grams of black cumin powder alone, 60% clearance of the bug in the same amount of time period, which is remarkable. So you may not even need to take this triple antibiotic cocktail, which is safe and very effective. But like the fact that some herb, it would be just dirt cheap and no side effects and only positive side effects. So all the other amazing things black cumin did, this is just a new thing that I learned and can make actually the antibiotic cocktail work even better and have fewer side effects. But no, I love what you said about kind of listening to your body. That's why for my patient population, what I've always done is presented a lifestyle change as, let's just give it a try. Let's just do like an experiment. People have a hard time wrapping their heads around. They're like, what? I'm never going to have another pepperoni pizza with them. I'm saying, let's just give it a try. Let's do it for 3 weeks. Let's go all in for 3 weeks, just to give it just to be fair to it and see what it'll do. And the point of doing that is that my hope is, and of course I have the advantage of being able to pull labs before and after, we show these dramatic improvements, which people I'd be starting them on drugs before, but 3 weeks later, they're no longer eligible for these drugs. But most important thing is that during those 3 weeks, they will find out from their own body how much better they're feeling. More energy, better digestion, less painful periods, whatever it is, that by the end of those 3 weeks, their own body is telling them this is good for them. It's no longer just some doctor wagging a finger in their face. No, some lab value, some digital readout that says they're doing good, but they don't feel blood pressure. They don't feel it. That doesn't make it. No, but then they're actually feeling better. And so then that's that internal motivation that is what makes this kind of lifestyle change sustainable. But you don't know how good you're going to feel until you give it a try.
In closing, I think giving it a try and having those experiments also, it works better when you've got at least one buddy doing it. The book coming out, being re-released, perfectly timed for folks who are like, okay, new year, I want to run a new experiment with my health. This book is going to give me some great ideas, keep it top of mind. Do you have any thoughts on a listener who's saying, I'd love to do a little book group with this, maybe even just like a neighbor or family member? Is there an experiment that you are hoping, even if a reader is saying, Dr. Greger, I can't do all the things, but I might just do this one thing? Do you have any thoughts on maybe what you would say if the book inspires you to try out this one thing? I hope it's this.
I love the social aspect. In fact, if you survey people through the dietary recidivism, people who started out eating healthy but then go back to their kind of old habits, and you ask them but was it hard? Was it expensive? Was it inconvenient? Did it not taste good? No. The number one, social pressures. Food is so tied in to culture and family and holidays and workplaces and everything that it's really hard to be the odd one out eating healthier. And so that's why it's so important to do it. Even if you're like, wait a second, I'm in the middle of the Missouri, there's no one around me. Look, there are online groups that you can join. It's just out for advice and recipes and share tips. So you feel like you have that social support to, again, make it sustainable. The healthiest diet in the world doesn't work at all unless you actually eat it. And I like your idea of, look, let's just do some simple things, right? One needn't make drastic changes. It's not all or nothing. Just these basic common sense lifestyle behaviors can literally mean living a decade longer, not smoking, not being obese, regular exercise, more fruits and vegetables. And it's never too late. Never too late to start eating healthier, start moving, stop smoking. We really do have the power.
Thank you. That is a great positive message, I think, for folks to bring into 2026. It is always a pleasure to chat with you. Your work is just so inspirational. And I think actually holiday gifts I'm going to get for my parents are those adorable 12-a-day coffee mugs, because I think that's going to help with, again, keeping it top of mind.
Great.
Thank you so much, Dr. Greger.
Keep up the great work.
Hey folks, thank you for tuning in this week to our conversation. If you are wondering where you might learn a little more from us, if you've been following the show for a while, you may not know that there has been a brand new newsletter released. It's free. It's called AI Forward, and specifically it's for folks in K-12 leadership. If you'd like to check that out and you'd like to give it a follow, the link is also in the show notes. Also, if you've got requests, you've got questions for the podcast or for the newsletter, our email address is there as well. We love, love, love hearing from listeners. See you again next week.
Hey there, dedicated listener. If you've made it this far, we know you're passionate about shifting the way education works. And Tricia and I appreciate you. If you loved what you heard today, we'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to rate and review Shifting Schools wherever you listen to podcasts. Those ratings help us reach even more educators just like you. And if you know someone who could benefit from these conversations, please share this episode with them. Just one person. Think of the impact we can make together. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter for even more great content. And if you haven't already, join us at Camp Shifting Schools, where the conversations keep going long after the podcast end. Thank you for being a part of this journey, and thank you for being part of Shifting Schools.